What's up everybody, I'm the Mage. You are awesome, and today I'm talking about Revenblade by Medallion Slate, a game that I feel many players that are still mourning the loss of Gigantic would enjoy. This is a fast-paced MOBA-ish brawler that can be downloaded and played for free. While the servers are normally only up on Wednesday nights and Sunday afternoons, you can still try the game out in offline mode to get a feel for the heroes. Check out how to download the game in the video description below. While I've covered Revenblade many times on my channel, there have been so many updates to this title that I'm going to go full coverage in this video and break down the entire game for anyone who thinks they may be interested. Revenblade is hard to define as fitting into any particular genre. Much like Gigantic, it features many MOBA-ish aspects, but calling it a MOBA is a bit of a stretch. There are roles and classes with different heroes that can fill each role like a MOBA. Each hero has abilities that can be leveled up after you've attained enough experience. There's a linear pathway to victory with objectives throughout that must be taken in order to win. However, there are no minions, no mana, and no item shop. The main game mode is 5v5 with each team spawning on opposite sides of one of the various maps. Each team starts by controlling 2 crystals. In order to win the game, you must take control of all 4 crystals. If you attempt to just yeet yourself at the crystal though, you'll be met with 90% armor on the crystal's health and deadly lasers firing on you from above. In order to make the crystal vulnerable, you must first take the capture point associated with that crystal. You can take the points by having at least one member of your team in the outlined area of the capture point, and entering that area will interrupt the enemy team's capture. Once you've taken the point, the danger zone and crystal armor goes away, and you have 30 seconds to do as much damage as possible before having to recapture. Once you've taken your first crystal, you can now move on to the next capture point and try to do it again for the win, while the defenders attempt to take the same point in order to retake their crystal. While the capture points and crystals provide teams with a very clear objective to fight over, there's more than one way to get to those points, giving assassins routes to access the enemy backline, vantage points for marksmen to rain destruction down on the point itself, and egress points for low health players to escape. There are also side objectives. Shards will spawn around the map, giving players many objectives to take that will provide their team with experience. It all comes together to create a very fast-paced, team-focused game that allows players with a variety of skill sets to shine. For example, I'm a more strategic, objective-focused player, so I like to stick to beefier heroes like the tank or warrior. However, if you're an aim god that can snipe people from across the map, you can jump on the archer or Marcus. If you're a hyper-aggressive gamer with lightning-fast reflexes, you'll feel right at home playing the assassin. Revenblade currently has 9 heroes to choose from. Each hero has a basic, heavy, and secondary attack, with the other 2 abilities reserved for mobility and defense. You'll notice some of the heroes look much better than the others. Medallion Slate has been updating the character models as they go. The tank used to look like this, and now he looks like this. The archer was similarly updated. So if you see someone like the Mage and think she looks bad, don't worry, she'll eventually get a makeover. Medallion Slate also plans to give each hero a name and have several characters to choose from for each role. Let's take a look at each individual character kit. The Archer. Her basic attack is a long-range projectile that goes further and becomes more powerful when you pull her bow to full draw. Her secondary attack has 4 charges and places a trap that stuns opponents who walk over it after a short arming time. Her heavy attack is an explosive arrow that deals AoE damage. You can dash with her mobility option, and her defensive ability gives her invisibility for a short time. The Assassin. His basic attack is a quick melee sword swing that cleaves. His secondary throws a long-range shuriken that slows and marks a target. Attacking that target consumes the mark and gives you a bit of extra damage. His heavy attack is an AoE double slash that deals more damage depending on your target's missing health. His mobility option is a dash with 2 charges that also deals damage if you pass through an enemy. And his defensive ability gives you a short duration shield that blocks damage and heals him if the ability does indeed block incoming damage. The shield also blocks status effects if you block an ability. For example, if you were to shield an enemy assassin's shuriken, you wouldn't be slowed or marked. Also of note with the assassin is that he can wall climb. The Warrior, one of my favorites, his basic attack is a strike with his staff that cleaves. His secondary creates a grounding field that prevents enemies from using their mobility options. This is far more powerful than it sounds. His heavy attack lets him slam the ground, pulling anyone near him towards the warrior and stuns them. The warrior's mobility lets him fly for a short period of time. This is different from the dashes we've seen so far because you can control your trajectory during the flight. His defensive gives him a bubble that increases his movement speed, mitigates some damage, and makes him immune to crowd control effects. The tank, my personal favorite of the whole lot. His basic attack is a cleaving melee swing of his hook hand. Take my strong hand. His secondary lets you raise a wall out of the ground. The tank's heavy is a long-range hook that stuns and displaces foes. The tank's mobility option charges up and then you leap forward, dealing damage and stunning enemies in an AoE. The tank defensive simply mitigates damage, however, there currently isn't a visual effect that goes along with it. The healer, one of the most dangerous supports I've ever played in any game. Her basic attack is a chakram that boomerangs out, dealing damage both on the forward and return. The chakram will bounce back to you when you hit a wall, so if you can catch someone standing next to something, you can fire this off quite quickly. Her secondary ability is a tether that links to one ally that passively heals them when they're in range. Hitting enemies with her chakram will heal your tethered ally. Her heavy is a standard just AoE heal. Her mobility option gives her and any nearby teammates a speed boost. The healer defensive gives her and her tethered ally a shield that absorbs damage for a small period of time. Up next, the Mage, my go-to when I need to play ranged. Her basic attack fires a projectile that marks her target. If you hit a marked target with a basic, it will bounce to nearby enemies. Her secondary is a projectile that stuns enemies. The Mage Heavy is an AoE explosion that consumes her marks to deal extra damage. The Mage Mobility is a very short-range dash. Her defensive puts her in an ice block that renders her invulnerable. It lasts a short period of time and you can break out of it early if you want, like you can fake people out with her ice block a bit. Now the Fighter, the only hero that runs on a resource. His basic attack is a melee hammer swing that cleaves to other targets. His secondary fires out a stream of steam that applies a damage over time to targets if you reach full charge. His heavy attack does a 360 swing with his hammer that deals significant damage and it knocks people back. Both his basic attacks and heavy attack restore steam. The fighter's mobility option lets him fly around with his steam pack as long as you have steam. His defensive is a pretty basic shield. Next up is Marcus, kind of a stance changer of sorts. His basic attack is a long-range rifle that holds a limited amount of ammo. Firing off all of your shots incurs a reload time. His secondary switches his rifle to a shotgun that deals a short-range AoE blast that deals more damage the more pellets you land. The shotgun fires much slower than the rifle. It's a bit overtuned right now, the shotgun is. It's doing a bit too much damage. His ultimate lets you fire 4 rapid terrain-piercing shots in rifle mode no matter how much ammo you have, while in shotgun mode it fires a blast that knocks yourself and enemies back. His movement is a long-range horizontal dash if you're on the ground, or a jump boost if you're up in the air, and it holds 3 charges. His defensive ability is a Soldier 76 style AoE heal. The Water Mage currently has a placeholder asset for her appearance, but her abilities work just fine. Her basic attack is a medium-range bubble projectile that splashes on the ground, leaving a pool of water that dries up over time. You can hit multiple enemies with one basic. The secondary attack is a wall of steam jets that activate after a short delay. The jets slow and damage enemies, as well as doing a pretty good job of obscuring vision. Her heavy attack is a channeled beam of water that deals damage and slows. The mobility option is pretty interesting. You can throw down a bubble that you can activate to knock yourself and enemies away from the center. This holds 2 charges. Her defensive ability lets her activate the pulls left by her basic attack, turning them into ice that stuns anyone inside the effect. Medallion Slate is a very small, family-oriented, independent developer. The team consists of 4 members, with Mokazan working on development, animation, and modeling, his brother Sharpie doing sound engineering, modeling, and kit design, their father Woodlore working on development, and finally Masterful covering legal and marketing. Of course, those are just general outlines of what they do. With a team that small, everyone needs to pitch in and wear multiple hats. Revenblade isn't the first game they've made either. Their first game is a mobile physics game called Hyperbounce. In fact, Revenblade started out as an isometric top-down mobile game. As the game developed, the team decided that they would rather create something less casual and move to PC. They are open to also developing for console, but are pretty focused on PC for now. I think the Nintendo Switch would be a good fit for this one. With Project Stamina still licking the wounds of their recent implosion, Revenblade has been getting a great deal more attention from the gigantic refugees out there that have been looking for something similar to their long-lost favorite game. Medallion Slate's fast-paced, multi-map, MOBA-like brawler holds some obvious appeal for some of those players. I'm happy to see the game get an influx of new blood because I really enjoy playing this title and I personally want to see it succeed. Best of all, you can try the game out for free. If you don't like it, move on and maybe check back on the progress later. If you played it in the past and felt the game was too basic, I encourage you to give it another shot since Revenblade has been updated not only visually, but with brand new mechanics that add some complexity. Check out their Discord for the game download in the video description below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button for me, but for now, this is the Mangoose signing off. You guys have a good one. Mangoose! Shout out to channel members Foolish Blood Hunter, Jelly Knees, and Farron.